What is up, guys? Today we're gonna be working on getting rid of this bumper, putting on this bumper. Don't mind the hay, the horse gotta eat. So we're gonna get rid of these goofy fogs and the LED bar and everything on the front bumper. But the cool part is we got some Cali raised ditch light brackets here I installed yesterday, and so we're gonna relocate our little pods up on top of the hood, and those will be some good ditch lights. And then yeah, we're gonna do some trimming and some drilling and some cutting, all sorts of that good fun. So let's do it. All right, well, there it is. Front bumper's off. As you saw, we got the ditch lights in place, but we haven't hooked up the wiring yet. Not bad. A lot of stuff was kind of set up for your off-roading stuff, so we're ready with that. So here we go. Let's move on. All right, so the first bit that we have to do, we got to make a cut. We're going to take off this black piece, if it'll come out, and we're going to make a cut from here, come out an inch, go all the way down here, making sure we leave this bolt hole and this bolt hole in. And we're going to reuse this black piece, I believe, and this white piece, and everything else is just not going to be used. So we're going to go try and do that now. Guys, so bumper's off, trimmed. This is kind of what it looks like now. Yeah, got a little leak here that I gotta fix. I think it's actually the fitting on the actual condenser, so that'll be fun. We got to take this off, the support, and save all those nuts. And then we're gonna also take this little bracket right here off, and we got to paint it. So those bolts are kind of rusted, so it's gonna be interesting. Hopefully they come out nice. Either way, they're not going to be reused, and the support is not needed anymore. So let's go ahead and do it. The front support brace, and that is 14 millimeters per side. So let's go ahead. All right, so now that we got the cross member off, we gotta take off this little bracket right down here, and then this little guy right here goes on. We gotta drill it out a little bit too. So let's do that. All right, so now we gotta drill out that little hole that we just drilled out, this guy. We gotta drill it out to 13 millimeters, which is just above ½ an inch. My biggest bit is a ½ an inch, so we'll see how that's gonna go. I may just kind of, go do a couple little angle cuts into it, and we'll see. Alright, so as you can see, I drilled out the hole. There was a welded in nut on the back. So what I did is I took a cold chisel and just hammered it off because it was basically bent, just being held on by the welds. So I just tapped it with a little small sledge, and it just chiseled it right off. So now we're kind of at the point of reassembly. So we're gonna go ahead and start pulling out some of the parts and starting fitting it all together. So let's do this. All right, guys, so I just kind of touched up the paint there, made sure I treated it for rust and all that stuff because, well, that's inevitable. However, I'm trying to figure out in the instructions what bolt goes where. I have these fine thread bolts that go right in here, but these threads down here have seen better days, and so I'm gonna have to coax them. So we'll see how this goes. Man, yeah. So I don't know where it cut off on my time lapse, but I had some trouble tightening down this top bolt on the other side because it's actually a bolt going through there. And what I was doing was I was tightening this down, and the head of the bolt is just spinning, and this hole isn't big enough for me to stick a ratchet in there or anything. So what I ended up having to do is send my big channel locks, put my one arm in there just like this, and basically pry it in there and hold it against it and make it work. And I eventually got it to grab and it torqued down, but man, that was a bit of a chore. So we're gonna do this side, go ahead, torque this all down, but we gotta put spacers on here, make sure that the spacers are flush with the face of this. So it's gonna take us a sec to line that up. We'll do one bolt at a time. Here we go. So now that I got this bottom bracket in, which was a pain in the butt because you saw I had to take the channel lock in there again for this side, got a leak here, need to fix that. Some tiny little pinhole here that I gotta fix too. I think it's the same size, so I'm probably just gonna replace those hoses, but I can't do it today. So this bracket for the AC line, I gotta bend it. I bent it a little bit for that cross brace, but I think this is going to conflict with my winch plate, so I'm going to take it. All right, so now we're putting on the bracket. Let's take a step back. You see I moved the AC lines out of the way. That bracket just was 110mm nut. Came right off, bent the AC line. Not much, but a little bit. And I also bent whatever the heck that line is, running below the AC line. So now we're putting on the bracket. One of my bolts is a little gummed up, so I'm gonna have to chase it down. All right, so there's the there's the support bracket. Now we gotta actually unbox our what is it, winch, and then gotta start fitting it. So here we go. All right, guys, so we had to kind of pause for a second there because the thing with this winch or ARB bumpers, I don't know if it's like this with other bumpers, but you mount them to the actual bumper, so the feet are on the face of the bumper, or kind of, and so like the feet are here, here, over here, and over here. So normally you would have to clock this. I don't think I'm gonna have to clock it, but because I got a little oval there to reach in, might be a pain in the butt to do, but so it feeds this way, so it's gonna work out. This winch is really low profile, and the cool part is if I want to, I can mount the actual control box to the top here if we have enough clearance. So I'm gonna double check and see if we have enough clearance, which probably means I'm gonna be fitting it a little bit here and there. But I'm gonna go ahead and mount the feet up, and then maybe test fit, and then go from there. And then once we test fit, we'll see where we can put the control box, and then I'll mount our little faceplate here. And as you saw, I have a different shackle to put on it instead of a hook. And yeah, so let's go ahead and guys, what you just saw was us fitting the bumper. So we ran into a little bit of an issue. We cannot clock this winch. It usually, you think you can, these are sealed. So we can't clock this, which is unfortunate, but this bar comes off. This bar is where another option to mount the control box. But I think I'm gonna mount my control box in a different way, and in a way that the positive cable and the remote plug are facing up here or towards the front. That way we can kind of access it a little bit easier. But that's kind of where we're at right now. So I had to kind of put it on here, mock it up, just to see what works, what fits. I'm gonna probably close the hood about a dozen times and open the hood a dozen times just to see where we can put it. But yeah, I'm loving it so far. I got the bolts threaded good bit. They're not tightened by any means. As you can see, we got a pretty decent gap there, pretty decent gap over here. So we still gotta adjust that, no biggie. But it's coming along. We gotta mount our little plate up here, and then yeah, then we gotta string it up. So we got some work to do. So let's keep. All right, guys, we got a new problem. So this is our Fairlead. This is a Hawse Fairlead. Common for synthetic ropes, right? However, you see where the bottom of our little hole is? If I put it on the bolts, directly over the bolts, we're still gonna hit the bumper. So, I had a couple options. I could either make this hole bigger, which would probably be the best way to do it, but I don't want to cut into this bumper because it's so pretty. My next option is to just go with a roller Fairlead. And my next problem with that is do I need special rollers? Do I need the polyethylene or whatever type of rollers that they are for the Fairlead? Or can I just get away with stainless steel rollers? So that's kind of where I'm at. It's not a stopping point for me. I still got to do the control box and wire it up, find a good location for it and all that. And then I still got to even string up the winch. So we got stuff we can do. It just kind of stinks because that was the next step, especially putting the feet in, because this is the bottom mounts for the mounts for the bottom 2 feet. So the other thing is I think I already just said it, but the whole clocking of the winch, we cannot do it. So kind of these are the issues you run into. But all right, so next set of problems. Because we can't clock the winch when we have really short arms, I could extend the wires, but then I'm gonna have to tape them up and waterproof them and prevent them from shorting out against each other. I don't want to do that. So there's this bracket right here and this bracket right here, and I'm gonna build basically a little deck for the control box to sit on top of. I'm gonna put it just below the hood line so that we don't have to worry about doing that, or we don't have to worry about hood clearance. And also we don't want to interrupt anything far enough away that the cords aren't kind of dangling over the spool and all that. So I got some leftover diamond plate that I got. I'm gonna go ahead and make a little cut, make a little deck, and then I'll drill some holes, bend it a little bit, and then we'll go from there. So this is where we're at. I need my wife's help to help lift it up so we can bolt it into place. Obviously, see there's a pretty decent sized gap right there between the headlight trim and the bumper. So you saw me making my sweet little custom bracket for our control module. But so it wasn't gonna work with the brackets that were provided by Smitty. So it's just, you know, what made it really hard was that this particular winch doesn't allow for clocking, and that made things a little bit more difficult. However, not impossible. So I just basically took an old piece of diamond plating, pretty sure it's aluminum, but I cut it up and bend it down so it has a little dip so that the hood can close flush. And then yeah, and then we also set up the light bar. It's a 28-inch. It fit in there pretty perfect, pretty nice. I like it. Then we got to do fog lights, turn signals. Still got to do the Hawse fair, what's it called, whatever it is. But yeah, so moving forward. guys, so what you all just saw, we got the rope, or the synthetic rope strung, not preloaded, obviously. I just put the hook on because I don't have the right Hawse Fairlead. I learned the name. We put on our bezels for the fog lights and the turn signals. We haven't wired them up yet. We just finished wiring up the winch, tested it out, obviously. I still got to wire up turn signals, fog lights, LED light. Just finished up doing the new ditch lights that are up here. But that's not really part of this video. So I still got to do a good bit of stuff, but I wanted to get all the hardware kind of in place where it needs to be before I start doing the wiring, so I can kind of figure out where I need to run my wires and everything else. Then once we get the wiring all done, we got to finish doing the bottom plates and the bottom stone skids, and then we're gonna work on the wheel wells. So we got a good bit left, but we still worked on my custom job of a bracket right there. So isn't that fancy? Ghetto fab. But yeah, she's coming along. Alright, the saga with the turn signals continues. So this is the ARB turn signal. We got 3 wires. Basically it's just join the grounds of the running lights, which are in this portion, and the turn signal, which are in this portion. They've joined them together, and so then we have the power, the hot, here and here, and the grounds joined on this one. So here's what we got from the factory. This one, and this isn't factory, but I don't know, this is how I got the car. So what we have to do is we got to find the grounds for the factory, and we got to find the powers. The other thing we have to do is we got to figure out the wattage for the turn signal and the wattage for the daytime, the DRLs, because if we're putting too much power to them, we're going to end up melting something. So we have to figure that out too before we just send it. I have the Loom for the fog lights, so I can go ahead and do that, but this is my priority, is the turn signals, because without that we don't have a street legal car. So let's keep going. Here's what I did with the fog light. I used the factory, or used the ARB Loom, because it had the butt connectors, and I connected it to the factory fog light. I just literally clipped the factory fog lights, which I believe these are them, and I used some heat shrink, and I connected them directly in, hot to hot, ground to ground. And then for the turn signal and for the
parking lot, the instructions said to wire them both to the factory turn signal and to join the two hots, and the grounds were already joined. So essentially both blink at the same time, which I don't know if I like that, but it is what it is for now, and it's gonna be that way. I also changed out the bulbs for number 67 bulbs, because if they're going to be parking lights, that means they're going to be on the whole time. And if I've heard from people that if you have them on the whole time, then you will burn the housings. So we switched out the bulbs for some cooler bulbs, and hopefully that'll make them last longer. So these fog lights have to work with the headlights. They have to be on with the headlights. So we will see how it works. Well, that's gonna wrap it up. As you guys saw, I put all the plates on. I need to drill out a bolt right here on my skid plate, but there's all the skids or the protection armor. I had to drill into the actual bumper to fit those bolts that hook the wings in. No biggie, but you know, drilling into a brand new bumper is kind of like, meh. But overall, I like it. I like it a lot. I had a little difficult time with the fogs, trying to get those situated, but I called ARB and they have really good customer service, and they basically said, just wire it directly up to the fog lights if you had pre-existing fog lights. And so I did that. Unfortunately, when I was testing them with a voltmeter, I blew the fuse because I crossed the lines, which sucks, but you know, I just gotta go get a 15 amp fuse, and then yeah, then the fog lights will be good. But yeah, this was a project. So if you have any questions, comments, concerns, holler at me. Yeah, I am really happy with it.